And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPCast. We are all home now in our prospective states after a very fun trip and successful trip, I'd say, to Nashville. We got to talk with Father Mike. We got to talk with Matt Walsh. We got to talk with Michael Knowles. And we got to talk with Harrison Butker. Fantastic time. I'd say all around really good. Erica, you're a little bit. You got to get back to
I'm in the middle. Back in the middle, back in my spot. No, it was great.
Travels all the way back.
Some heavy hitters there. And I loved the banter between Father Mike and Mercer about growing up in Minnesota. And he like knew the town that you were that you grew up in. It was so
Less
cool.
than 2,000 people.
Yeah, niche Minnesota hiking trails was how I would describe it. That's how you know he's a real Minnesotan.
Yeah, and Tom, you learned what rollerblading is. So that was
I learned what rollerblading is, and I also learned that kickers watch film. I did not know. Previous to talking to Harrison, game respect game. I'm glad that he's a student of special teams, but I was like, I thought for sure they just showed up and knocked it through the uprights, but there's more to it. And yes, we got to meet some people there too. We got to meet Emily from the chat. Shout out.
Oh, we lost Tom. There we go. He's back. Yeah, we met Emily from the chat, and she is even more delightful in person. So shout out to Emily. Thank you for coming up to us. And yeah, it was just really neat to see people in person. Because sometimes I sit here like talking into the void, but it was all real people. It's great.
And in case anyone's wondering, we were at the Regina Coeli Academy fundraising dinner. Of course, we stole Erica from Regina Coeli Academy, but let me tell you something. Walking around this crowd of like 1,000 people, everyone loves Erica. Crazy. Not crazy. It makes me laugh.
It was the classic of many worlds. Well, it was great. Yeah, and Tom, awesome. Tom gave a fantastic testimony at the dinner. I believe you opened for Michael Knowles. You were right before Michael. Was that it?
I had a crazy backstage experience where I shook the governor of Tennessee's hand, which kind of hilarious thinking that the governor of any state would show up to a classical hybrid homeschool education event. Like to think that Gavin Newsom would ever show up to something like that is just hilarious. So shout out to Governor Lee, cool guy. But it was Governor cool. Lee, Mike Schmitz, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Kirk Cameron, and then me.
Mobbed out by Secret Service. It's such an honor, right? It felt like an honor. You got to introduce Michael Knowles, but see, he's Harrison Butker, I need to have someone. I thought you said you introduced Michael Knowles.
No, I introduced Harrison Butker. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Was your joke leading to that?
I was going to say Michael Knowles would probably want someone shorter than him to introduce him.
Yeah, Matt definitely did a good job of. But anyway, it's very cool. We're happy to be back at this. Someone emailed. I think it was shout out to Cass. She's like, I never heard of Michael before this, and I went to look at his stuff, and I must confess, I like you guys way better. Yes. Please do not go celebrity. Like, don't go celebrity on us. Like, Cass, I got good news for you. I don't have any plans of going celebrity.
No aspirations.
No aspirations. Although the gala life is kind of nice, just sipping cocktails and greasing elbows. I think I could get used to that. But we're back to work here. We're back to the news stories. We're back to current events. You're going to get our takes here. So today we're talking about Harvard, and I know we were getting a long time around that. I've never seen such aggressive, and probably in my opinion necessary action taken against higher institution with the biggest endowments in the world. But before we get to that, we got to talk Charity Mobile. Shout out to Charity Mobile for sponsoring this episode. We appreciate it. Now more than ever, it's time to buy the way you believe and do business with companies who support what you stand for. That's why you should switch your cell phone service to Charity Mobile, the pro-life phone company. They spend 5% of your monthly plan price to the pro-life, pro-family charity of your choice at no extra cost to you. Charity Mobile has never raised their mobile plan prices in their 30-year history, and all plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. You can save even more on every line you add, making them a perfect choice for families also. New customers can use promo code LOOPCast to get a free phone with every new line, plus free activation and free shipping, or you can bring your own compatible devices, so you'll enjoy the same nationwide coverage as the big guys, and their live customer service is based right here in the U.S. To get started, visit CharityMobile.com and use the promo code LOOPCast. That is CharityMobile.com, promo code LOOPCast. Thank you to Charity Mobile. Now, the only way I can describe this, as I'm going to share my screen here, and the New York Times shares this sentiment, Trump has declared war on Harvard. Trump intends to cancel all federal funds directed at Harvard, which is funny. I think this means more symbolically and strategically than the actual dollar amount, because 100 million doesn't jump off the page when you consider, I think he froze $3.2 billion in grants with Harvard. But the directive, the language of it, I thought was really interesting. According to a letter sent to federal agencies on Tuesday, it instructed agencies to, quote, find alternative vendors for future services. And I was seeing examples. It's everything is like the NIH was working with them to study the effects on coffee that coffee had on people. Some other kind of like smaller things, but symbolically, it's we're done doing business here until either demands are met or, there's going to be no more relationship between the federal government and Harvard. And I'd like to just do a brief summary of the action so far. This was the latest of many. So as I said, they froze $3.2 billion in grants and contracts as of last month. They halted Harvard's ability to bring in international students, which this was very interesting to me because I was looking a bit more into the economics of college. And the big reason for international students is they often pay full price or even more so.
Hey, baby.
And if you're looking at the makeup of Harvard's student body, 27% of the university's total enrollment are these international students, and they are paying full price.
So it's like they're probably like 45 to 50% of the money.
100%.
Right.
If you think about it, if they're 27% of the students.
Yeah. So I think it's about 7,000 students. And the reason for it was Harvard refused to comply with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. They didn't comply with this extensive public records request from the DHS. The DHS is claiming they want to know what type of people are coming in. Harvard is refusing to hand over this documentation, and therefore they're just putting a stop all freeze on international enrollment in Harvard. So definitely hitting the pocketbook for sure. The next one, he's threatened to take away tax exempt status. It's what they deserve, I believe he said on his True Social. There hasn't been any action taken on that, but it's not the second time he's beating the drum on this.
Yeah.
And then as of 2025, the Trump administration launched a civil rights investigation into the Harvard Law Review, alleging that article selections were based on race rather than merit. And this is actually a still ongoing investigation, but that happened about a month ago. I think April 28th is the date I have for that. And funny creative solution, Trump has even suggested that he's going to redistribute the $3 billion in grant money from Harvard to trade schools. Which
beautiful.
is
Love it.
Beautiful middle finger.
And just to be clear, trade schools in the United States.
Yes.
Not in because you never know.
Yeah, although I it's funny. I'm sure that was almost made in jest, or he means it. No one really ever knows with Trump. But I actually think, on a philosophical point, it's kind of putting where your mouth is. Like, if you're going to federally subsidize something, it should be in the best interest of the taxpayers that are doing so. And if Harvard continues to racially discriminate and keep graduating people that genuinely hate the country and want to destroy it, why not put a little bit of that money into trade schools to make that cheaper and provide needs for Americans at home, a good way to make a living? You know what I mean? Like, I actually think that's not as crazy as an idea as I thought people may think.
Well, and the student visas, they're apparently going to pause all student visa applications, not just to Harvard, but it's basically, we as the American people have the right to determine whether or not we want to be generous with student visas or not. And if all it does is add to the bottom line of Harvard and make them a ton of money, and they're practicing discriminatory policies and fomenting anti-Semitism, we have every reason to say, yeah, maybe we'll just cut that spigot off. It's not like you have a constitutional right to bring in have student visas come in to this country. And then I think what he's getting at with the tax ID, tax exempt status stuff, I think he's waiting for like the Justice Department to do, an investigation and cite some of these anti-discriminatory things that are going on. And once that happens, then he'll have precedence, because he can say, hey, look, Bob Jones University lost its 501c3 tax exempt status in 1982 when the federal government said you can't, you're being discriminatory. So there's precedent. Like, you don't even have to, like, it's not like you need a new law or anything. Like, hey,
right,
why should you be exempt from this stuff?
Yeah, I think what is coming home to roost here for Harvard and Columbia and all these other, elite schools here in the United States is the reality that when you build a system that is dependent in your mind, because you won't touch your hedge fund endowment, which is
53 billion, by the way.
billion.
Yeah.
It's like the sixth largest country in the world by GDP or something per capita. It's bizarre. But when you structure your operations around a dependence on federal funding, you have to expect that at some point you're going to get an administration that's going to want accountability on this. And what happened was Trump came in, he demands accountability. DHS asks for the information on foreigners coming into the country. They want, accountability for racist practices that violate the Civil Rights Act, which Harvard supposedly is a champion of. They refuse to comply with affirmative action policies. And the Trump administration holds them to account and says, look, and Harvard's reaction, instead of being like, we like our federal funding, we'll work with you, we'll cut a deal with the Trump administration, we'll tell our raging liberal leftist students that we don't like it any more than you do, but we
chill
have
out a little
to.
bit.
Right, exactly. Like, chill out a little bit. We got to keep our money.
There's money in the line.
Stop kidnapping people and
but instead,
getting into buildings.
Harvard's governing body, the president, he came out this week with an interview. It was just ridiculous. Like, basically, the bottom line is they expect to be able to continue to draw a blank check from the American people with no accountability. And so they've dug in their heels at every turn. They've sued the Trump administration. They've refused to comply with security measures from DHS. And again, like, just the hubris of it that, no, we should be able to spend millions and millions, billions in American taxpayer dollars on these grants with no accountability to the people giving us this money. And who are the people who are subsidizing students at Harvard? Well, it's mostly 18 to 35-year-olds who don't go to college, right? They're the ones who are working, whose taxes are going into the system to give this money, unaccountable blank check to Harvard University. So again, like, if you want the money, the strings are going to be attached. That's why great schools like Hillsdale College, Josh's alma mater, Josh, your alma mater, don't take federal funding because you don't want the strings attached. So Harvard, figure it out. You have to live without the funding if you want to live in such a way as you have been doing, which is do whatever the heck you want with no accountability. Fine, you don't get the money.
And the thing is, there's always going to be some sort of strings. The question is, are they reasonable? So for example, this always gets brought up in the discussion about, student school choice and vouchers and stuff like that. That's why we want the money to go to the parent, and then the parent gets to choose the school. So there's less of a regulatory regime there. But in this case, it's money directly going from the federal government to Harvard, and then also allowing student visas, which is money that's indirect, but still it's a huge spigot of money for Harvard. And the question is it reasonable? Sometimes governments put in regulations that are horrible. Right. They're unreasonable. But in this case, it's like, maybe don't intimidate Jewish students on campus. Maybe don't foment hatred against the United States. Maybe don't take over buildings on campus. These are totally reasonable.
Wasn't the Supreme Court affirmative action ruling was because of Harvard, right? Because they were racially discriminating against white and Asian students.
I don't know if that was against Harvard or not. I have to plead ignorance.
I think it was involved in some way. If not Harvard, but elite Ivy League education was implicated in this because they were discriminating against Asians and whites. But it's interesting, Josh, you bring up that point. I think of the civil rights regime more broadly has been used and weaponized against Christians or people of goodwill in many different ways. And
for sure,
cheered on totally by the Harvard graduates and the left and the entire institutions. And so when civil rights are now brought up as a reason to be like, hey, stop racially discriminating against white people, Asian people, stop harassing Jews on campus, stop, these improper placements of students. Like even I was going through internal hiring documents now deleted from Harvard, but they intentionally had hiring practices so that they would not hire white people, so that they had less representation of men on campus, just like the craziest stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And these are all done by the same people that used the gun of the civil rights regime, Civil Rights Act, to go after all of their enemies. And now are hilariously claiming that somehow they are this bastion of academic freedom and the final wall against. It's like, you have nothing to stand on. Nothing.
We as conservatives tend to believe in this idea of rule of law and that laws should apply equally to everyone. And so, Hillsdale College, as you mentioned, You know, again, I like Nixon a lot, but I'm not a fan of affirmative action when I got started in the early 1970s. And Hillsdale was like, well, we don't get any federal money, so we're not going to comply with these standards.
Right.
As the Department of Education was asking, or well, it wasn't the Department of Education back then, but as the federal government was asking for information, racial makeup of all the student bodies on all the different campuses across the country, Hillsdale's like, yeah, dude, we don't get any federal money, so forget it.
Yeah, it's all good.
And then the government's like, well, actually, you know, you get students on your campus who get federal money, so then you have to give us the information. And we're like, yeah, no, we still don't want to do that. Sorry. Takes it to federal court. We end up losing. And so we decide, okay, we're just not going to take any students that get government money. And anyone who's on government money right now will find donors to support that
Right.
place. You don't have to leave. And Hillsdale then didn't have to comply. Guess what? President Barack Obama still went after Hillsdale 30 years later and was counting on them. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. Where was Harvard? Where was Harvard talking about the academic freedom at Hillsdale? Oh, it's almost like they're full of crap. I mean, it's like so
Totally. Like, remember when the Biden
nauseating.
administration? Remember
Right.
the Biden
This
administration
is what
was going
drives
to
me
pull federal
crazy
funding?
about. This is what drives me crazy about everything. For the left, it's always a one-way street. You know, like Joe Biden was handing out pardons like the last 36 hours. Actually, probably staffers with the auto pen, right? And then there was then Donald Trump pardoned somebody yesterday, and it was like, oh, well, apparently there was a $10 million gift. Oh, suddenly pardons for sale are a bad thing again. It's this one-way street where it's only a
Right.
problem if one side does it. Sounds like crap to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember not long ago, President Biden threatening to withhold all federal funding for universities that wouldn't let men in women's bathrooms. Or compete in women's
Exactly. I was
sports
just
through
going to
Title
bring
IX.
that up because when Josh, you made the point, it depends on what the rule is that the federal government's trying to enforce. I mean, those cases there when the Biden administration changed the language of Title IX to include, instead of saying sex, it says, gender identity, which means, of course, you have to let,
And
if you want
orientation
federal
and everything.
funding, right. And that was the impetus for a lot of the Newman schools that we talk about, the, really faithful Catholic and classical colleges, to start saying, maybe we should divest from federal government and FAFSA and all of that as well, because they see the freedom that someplace like Hillsdale has when there's no lawfare being waged against them per Obama. But it really is an important question, because the reality is the Trump administration will not be in power forever, and we will probably swing around again to an administration that will require schools to do things that are unjust, like let men sleep in women's dorms and use their bathrooms in order to get federal funding. So the question for facing universities is, like, right now we're like, yeah, stick it to Harvard, because they are refusing to comply with pretty common sense requirements to get their money. But the time may come again when the tables are
I know
turned.
what you're saying about that, but like in general, what I'd like to do is move away from a posture of, well, we should shield ourselves from government regulation. I get that, but what's going to happen is they're still going to come after them, like they went
Yeah.
after Hillsdale. So my point is, we need to turn the great giant ship of state around.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to make it so that our country, our own government, is patriotic again and doesn't hate its own
Mhm.
people. I mean, that's what we need to do.
That would be
Like,
ideal.
that's like that's why it's nice to see Trump put people at the Department of Justice who's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you just pass a law against Catholics in Washington State? We're coming after you. Like,
Yeah.
yes, that's what we need to do, instead of saying, oh, that was not nice, I guess we can't do anything about it. Like,
Yeah, agree. I
what?
think I'm not sure if you're exactly making this point, Erica, but I do hear that a lot of like, like, what if you do this? It's going to be used against you one day. And it's like, oh, like, you think they're going to try to assassinate the president twice or put him in jail for the rest of his life
or
or
lock
what,
down the
like,
entire country for
you know
2
what I mean?
years.
Like, oh, they're going to put pro-lifers in jail, like nothing they haven't done before anyway. So to your point, Josh, it's like, I think people are finally realizing that, political power, that's why I get very frustrated when I start talking about controlled opposition, which I hope dies and never comes back. But I feel like largely Republicans or even like Christian representatives were more than happy to be controlled opposition that couldn't do anything, but got to stand up on their principle for
David
stuff that they could
French,
never win, right? Like they never even, it's almost like they never even tried to get power or do anything. And I will say, like, I think this relates to this kind of Democrat question of like, the party feels like a deer in headlights right now. There's no leader right now. There's no direction. And why is Trump's approval rating at an all-time high, or at least consumer sentiment, or I've seen some polling?
Yeah.
It's because people believe, because he's transparent and is working on their behalf. Like, he is, if nothing else, clearly in charge of the country.
Did you?
And yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's a poll this morning came out that for the first time in like 40 years, more than 50% of Americans believe the country is headed in the right direction. And that is a swing from a year ago under the Biden administration, when it was like 17% of Americans think that the country is headed in the right direction. So that was pretty fun. I'm going to go find that.
There's a reason for that. I mean, it's all at the top. It's all, he is clearly communicating and doing things on behalf of average Americans.
Okay, so I think we're going to talk about this later in the episode, but I think it relates. So like what I'm getting at is like control the ship of state, because like it seems to me Republicans would complain about government. Government doesn't work. Government's terrible. Then they get elected and then to prove it's true by not doing anything. So at least, okay, so here's an interesting thing. Now, NPR, National Public Radio, is suing the Trump administration for trying to cut its funding. Like as somehow it has a constitutional right to government funding.
Yep.
I got to say, Donald Trump is very imaginative and comes up with great ideas for the most part. But on this one, I think I'm going to say swing and miss here.
Interesting.
If you really want the American left to call for the shutdown of NPR, what you need to do is have Donald Trump go in there and put a new CEO in charge and call it National Patriotic Radio and have it be 100% MAGA from sunrise to sunset, and the commie liberals will call for the end of this station in no time flat.
I like that.
Yeah, the specific statement
is applying the rules to their game. Like, I'm sorry, like that's the way, like we can sit here for the last 40, 50 years. What we said is, well, it's not fair that we do this, so maybe we shouldn't do it. And the left is like, we have power, we're going to use it to destroy you. It's like, okay. And then we get into power and we're like, see, now we don't have to destroy each other, and we can have tea and with dolls. Bull crap. Like if you use the ship of state, shut these people down, put your own friends in place. Imagine Stephen Miller as charge of NPR. Dude, they left would
that would be awesome.
I do love Stephen Miller. Kind of on that point too, Josh. Man, I'm blanking on what I want to say here. Oh yeah,
National Patriot Radio.
Nothing. Okay, so I like that, and it's totally in your face and aggressive. But what I don't think people even fully understand or appreciate at this point is, for the last 20 years, if you go through the receipts of USAID, the left was genuinely funding and handing out grant money to all of their friends, nonprofits, think tanks. I mean, just the way that this money was getting laundered back to the left is so unbelievably outrageous and unthinkable that it was basically creating a situation where they could never lose again, right? Like
right.
All public funding.
Right.
Think about like the misinformation board or whatever. That woman was 2 seconds away from controlling what was true or false for everyone in the country on the internet. So what if, as you're saying, you take back the levers of power instead of just saying, well, we're going back to the even playing field, right? Like we're not going to, okay, use that money to actually benefit patriotic Americans that would make the country better, right? Like the answer is not just putting
Title IX funding, all this stuff that USAID, all this funding that's going for trans stuff, you give it to American Principles Project and tell Terry Schilling, hey, let's support women in sports. Give them $500 million.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty huge, wouldn't it?
Because where your money flows as a government, you're funding what you believe in. And if you're not funding anything, or you're just kind of going back to neutrality, you have no direction and you kind of end up back where we started again. It's like there's some people have a very clear vision for what taxpayer money should be used for and what their policy goals and ends are that they want to achieve. And they've been pretty not shy about getting that done with whatever means necessary. And it's like, I think this is what appeals to Trump for a lot of people, is even like cutting NPR, right? So they said, we're cutting off this funding to NPR. Catherine Maher, NPR CEO, says it's retaliatory viewpoint-based discrimination. And what is
you're like, that's the ultimate gaslighting.
Right? What does the White House do though on this? They come with a laundry list of receipts of all the insane stuff that NPR has published.
Oh my gosh.
Like I could go through this the entire episode, each individual one. NPR educated the nation on the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts and transceratops.
What?
There's stuff you can't even make up. Reported on the
It's like a who's
cousin
who
of diet
Hall of
culture.
Fame of Twilight Zones.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
NPR assigned 3 reporters to investigate how the thumbs up emoji is racist. Suggested that doorway sizes are based on latent fat phobia.
Not Latin.
Yeah, sorry, no. Produced an entire movie celebrating a transgender teenager's so-called changing gender identity. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
as if this is
Animals
somehow...
deserve pronouns too. What?
Right, and like this, again, this is something, if NPR wanted to be like an artsy indie publication and somehow found patrons to fund this, maybe they live in Vermont or something, that's fine, right? But if there's any taxpayer involvement with this at all, it's wrong. It's too far.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Retaliatory viewpoint-based discrimination. The other thing is too that she had in that same speech that statement, she was talking about how this is an assault on the First Amendment. This is a violation of the Constitution. We're talking about taking your money away. You don't have a right in the Constitution to taxpayer money.
Erica, you're so such old school beholden views. No. If you don't give money to NPR, it's obviously a violation of the First Amendment protection to right to free speech. However, if you have the FBI coordinate with social media companies to take down the posts on Facebook and Twitter of average everyday Americans, that's not at all an attack on free speech.
Well, thanks for schooling me on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know what? I need a man to explain it to me, Josh.
No, you need re-education because
I do need re-education.
You've fallen prey to misinformation.
If we were in Canada, we would all be in re-education camps right now.
We'd be in a camp somewhere for sure.
I know.
In the UK, we would be in jail.
I know. I'm tempted to fly to London just to misgender someone, see if I get the cuffs. Let's go.
Yeah. But next session, I thought Josh should get a kick out of it. And it's very illustrative. There was an article, okay? And this article, I believe it was New York Times wrote it, about the Dems getting desperate or not having a path forward. And I mean, I can't say it any better than these 2 paragraphs. For now, Democratic donors and strategists have been gathering at luxury hotels to discuss how to win back working class voters, commissioning new projects that can read like anthropological studies of people at faraway places. The Petri dish effects with
Safari.
I have coined on the show. So in case you're curious what they came up with, the prospectus for one new $20 million effort obtained by the Times aims to reverse their erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It's codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, and promises investment to, quote, study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. Finally, quote, above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone, end quote, it urges. Interesting. So there's 2 other pieces to this, right? So we got a Tim Dillon, very famous comedian. He had JD Vance on before the election. He was on CNN. A CNN interviewer asked him some questions, and there's an excellent article about a shadow cabinet that is proposed. I don't know which one I'm more excited to talk about first, but we'll start with our boy Tim.
Roll the tape.
But I ask because, do you feel like you're part of a new establishment that's being created?
I don't think I'm part of a new establishment. I think it would be pretty difficult to look at these podcasts. I know it's a popular thing right now, especially in certain media circles, to say that after running an incredibly unpopular candidate who was introduced very late in the race because an elderly man who could not be the president, who everyone told was functioning as the president for 4 years, decided to, this wind is wild, huh?
Yeah.
See? But this was a very specific circumstance in which Kamala Harris ran for the presidency.
Yeah.
She was somewhat unpopular, and she was not a star in Democratic politics before this at all. And her communication strategy was pretty weak. I think most people have admitted that. So to hang this defeat all on a few podcasts and to say that they were the problem, I just don't buy the narrative. So I don't think I'm a new establishment. If you weigh again, a few comedians with podcasts versus all of the people that supported Kamala Harris, Democrat donors, billionaires, big people. If the idea is that me and a few comedians have more power than multi-billionaires, huge media institutions, a whole political party apparatus, I just don't think most people are going to buy that. I think it seems like a great way to excuse running an unpopular candidate on a platform that American people weren't sold on.
I think
I don't know if that was the answer she expected there, but that's tough.
I mean, he just said it's so to try and pin everything on like, okay, it was Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon and what's another one that somehow these three guys they had an effect. Yeah, for sure there was an effect, and the fact that Kamala Harris's campaign refused to let her go on, or she refused.
What do you mean? She went on Call Her Daddy.
Oh, Call Her Daddy. I forgot about Call Her Daddy. That's going to win the guys over,
Yeah.
But the idea that somehow the whole framing of Sam, this $20 million effort, is so manipulative in a way. It's not asking the deeper question of, is what we're proposing actually attractive to American people? Is it actually meeting people where they're at? It's like, let's study the language and the syntax and the cadence and the vocabulary. Maybe if we adopt like a Gen Alpha lingo, then we'll be the cool mom and they'll want to go out and party with us. It's not looking at the substance, and it's also this disdain for the American voter that somehow we're too stupid to consider substance, that all we really care about is the makeup and the parties and was there a Beyonce concert before Kamala came on stage? Like, that's the problem, is they're looking at the American people with such disdain that we can just be fooled and won over by, I don't know, by just entertainment. It's totally.
I don't know if I disagree with that per se, but I think my diagnosis here is that the institutional Democratic Party machine, think Hillary Clinton, think Kamala Harris, because I actually do think there's an element to the left that actually is legitimately organic. Say like Bernie Sanders to a more extent than say like a Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris.
Who is ostracized by the party, right?
Totally. Like any Democrat you see like currently really ostracized is on the outs of this, or is like survives in spite of this. And I think they've been so used to operating with state funds that their only thought to solutions to things is to throw money at that, because that's how it's operated. Think about like Reuters or Politico. We found out we're getting money from the government, or like their only thought is like, okay, we have so much control to pull the strings that of every institution, right? Universities, media, government, that like their thought to a solution isn't, is our message organic enough? Do enough people support it? It's we can pull the levers all over here with enough money, with enough influence, enough power that we can do whatever we want.
Right, which is laziness, which is power and money breed a generation of lazy thinkers who disdain anyone who's not in their circles, and that's what I'm getting at there.
But they are, yeah, exactly. And I don't think they're thinking about, is our message organic, right? Like are what we are proposing actually popular? No, they've never had to think that way until recently, because you get arguably the most organic candidate of all time in Donald Trump, who just TikToks his life. They have a Substack now for the State Department. Like they are the complete antithesis of the strategy of what's going on the other side. I mean, even this article about the shadow cabinet, which I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to get through without laughing. Josh, let's see what you think about this proposal, right? So we have an opinion piece in Politico, 21 unexpected heavy hitters for a Democratic shadow cabinet. Here's who the party should tap to take on Trump and refresh the Democratic.
To take on Trump, refresh the party. Do they suggest, for example, the one Democrat in the entire United States Senate who's actually trying to forge a new path? Are they suggesting that they should have Senator John Fetterman?
Oh, no.
For example. No, they don't.
He's not on there.
His wife. They said his wife should be the shadow Secretary of Homeland Security.
I like this one.
Giselle
personally.
Letitia
No, hold on, wait.
James.
Giselle Fetterman should be the shadow secretary of Homeland Security. Think about this, right?
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban for Secretary of Commerce.
She's an undocumented immigrant.
Yeah.
You want her as in charge of Homeland
Oh
Security.
my goodness.
Katie Hobbs.
Katie Hobbs.
Jon
Jon
Stewart.
Stewart.
Education,
First.
even though she wants to squash the voucher program.
There's Giselle.
There's Giselle,
Fetterman.
yeah.
Jon Stewart, Bill Nye. You know,
Bill
Bill
Nye, the
Nye.
science
Bill Nye
guy.
made it.
such
The
a
EPA.
joke.
I just I think there's an element that there's a complete petri dish treatment of Americans because they just have never had to think this way. I don't know if it's the internet, I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's Trump. But
do you know how unserious that shadow cabinet is? In addition to having like Jon Stewart,
sure,
they recommend as the shadow U.S. trade representative, former actor and economist Ben Stein, the famous high school teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, who's talking about the Holly Smoot tariff of 1932 or whatever that did it get us out of the Depression or not? And the kids are like so asleep and more. No, it went further in the Depression. Okay, so you're just going to pick him because Ben Stein is like ridiculously hardcore pro-life. He used to work for the Nixon administration. Like the guy is about as conservative as it gets, but he's going to somehow join your shadow cabinet. I mean, this literally is like a bunch of drunk 25-year-olds are like, all right, and then we'll put Ben Stein. I mean, what are there? What?
I mean, also aren't we all a little? I'm a little raw from shadow cabinet, the term.
Okay,
over the
so
last 4 years.
Yeah.
All right. So the idea of a shadow cabinet, this is what, for example, when someone who is out of power in a parliamentary system. So like, you know, in Canada, Pierre Poilievre was thinking he was going to win. And so he has this shadow cabinet. Like, if I win, this is going to be my finance minister. This guy's going to be my foreign affairs minister, all the way down the line as a way to try to increase. And so once you get elected the prime minister, boom, you've got your cabinet, you present it to the king, we're ready to go. So it's not really a thing in the United States per se. It just kind of, you know, makes for good copy, but
I don't think this is going to be a thing either.
No.
Okay, but I mean, again,
no
the biggest part about this is so funny. It's like, we need $20 million so that we can get our own Joe Rogan. This is what the Democrat donors are thinking. It's like, guys, you had your own Joe Rogan.
Right.
His name
he
was
a Democrat.
Joe Rogan. You pushed him out of the party.
Right.
You were so toxic to men, especially white men, but all men. And you pushed men out of your party. You made them unwelcome. You said how much you hate them. So after a while, men are like, I kind of get the idea you don't like me anymore. So I don't know. Did we break up with you? No, I think you kind of broke up with us. So a lot of men were like, forget this.
I think important to add to it, like a lot of these men were ripe for the taking because I think the Republican Party for a long time was super organic or inorganic, right? Like Mitt Romney. Did anyone really think Mitt Romney was really appealing to middle America? Did anyone really think that conservatives that were just like, we're just going to go bomb foreign countries as much as possible and we're going to cut the marginal tax rate. We're going to try super hard and not actually do it. Like
I remember 2007 when he was thinking about running for president the first time, 2008. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The top two Republican candidates for president 2008 are Mitt Romney and John McCain. Like, shoot me now. This is so horrible. Everything about it was terrible. You younger kids have no idea how much we were in the wilderness on this stuff, you know? So then McCain edges them out and then Romney's like, okay, I'll do it next time. I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world is going on?
So I think this was around. So this was around.
So the idea of 28 that we after Trump that we'd have, do we have JD Vance, a new like big Marco Rubio who found his
big Marco,
his machismo. Like you guys have, I mean, we were in the wilderness for so long, man. Mitt Romney. Oh.
Josh is going to need a drink after this, just thinking about it.
Just going back. I always love the, Josh, I always bring up the cover, the Young Guns cover. I was like, this is the future of the party. And it was the guy from Wisconsin.
Paul Ryan, Kevin McCarthy, and Eric Cantor. Eric Cantor, who lost, I mean, he was the new speaker to be. He was like on his glide path. And a bunch of conservatives in Virginia said, yeah, no, we don't like you. Bye-bye. And that was glorious. They just took him out in the primary.
All right, sweet. Let's get into
Back.
good news at this point. Erica, you were up first.
We have some great news. This is why we do what we do. Turns out a third of Planned Parenthoods in Minnesota and Iowa are closing. So that's 8 Midwest sites are closing. And the reason why is because Trump won the election. So Planned Parenthood cited the move from the Trump administration to freeze $2.8 million in Title X funds used for birth control and abortion.
They also cited, though, the looming cuts coming in the reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill. So
That's right. That's
BBD.
right. And these were key factors in their decision to consolidate their centers, which essentially means they are cutting 1/3 of their operating abortion clinics in those two states.
And slashing staff, yeah.
This is great news. Yeah. And so
I expect more cuts to continue. I mean, I've had a lot of discussions
Mhm.
with conservatives up and down the aisle, and a lot of them have expressed frustration that we're still not cutting the spending enough. I completely agree with that. I wish it were more. Don't get me wrong. I totally think so. I just happen to think that you're not getting 218 votes out of this Congress.
right.
That's going to be a better bill, at least. We'll see. But the bond market's not good. We need, and the statistic that came out today that first-time homebuyer average age is 38. So, Trump administration needs to really kick it into gear in terms of lowering costs. His thing, he wants Jay Powell to lower the interest rates. I get that. But what we could do in the meantime is really try to start cutting some spending. It's going to be a long road. I think Americans are going to have to take their tough medicine. They're going to have to see interest rates climb and the deficit to skyrocket because we have to finance this debt more and more expensively before we finally take the tough medicine. I don't know. We'll see. But I agree with you, Erica. That is fantastic news. I expect more and more of these Planned Parenthoods to shut down. I think that's just the first wave.
Let's do it.
Did you see that people are? Have you heard about the Klarna thing? Did you guys see that?
The what?
Klarna?
There's something called Klarna.
Do you use Klarna?
No, I do not use Klarna. Thank goodness.
Don't use Klarna.
It's like micro loans. So
Yeah.
it's an alternative to credit cards. And so you can basically finance your Chipotle burrito is the joke going around.
Yeah.
And it was getting, of course,
Like your IKEA furniture can be Klarna'd.
Like four small payments of $4 or whatever to get a Chipotle burrito. And it got a ton of investment. And then after its first quarter, I think it's down like 60 billion, like some unbelievable amount of money because no shocker, people aren't paying. They're defaulting on their Klarna payments.
What a shock. I mean, this is
oh my God.
This reminds me of an old Jeff Foxworthy joke. Like, you're a redneck if you finance a tattoo. 3 more payments and this son of a gun's mine.
Yeah, I'm laughing through the pain, thinking that there's people actually financing burritos, and of course, there's all these Big Short jokes. The screenshots from the Big Short is so good.
Well, I mean, I remember this. I mean, it was recent-ish past, like 20 years ago, when they first allowed you to start using credit cards at the grocery store. It's a relatively new phenomenon.
Wait, when is that?
Well, because the idea was like, wait a minute, you're financing food. What's your collateral? There's nothing. You ate it. It's one thing to use a credit card to buy a sofa or a TV, and then we can come take it from you. But like, if we buy it on food, it's like, what are you going to do?
What year was that?
I mean, 25 years. I mean, I was in high school when it switched.
I think it was the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure it was
late
Clinton.
80s.
I did not know that. That is a fun fact.
There used to be a lot more restrictions on credit cards too, by the way. I mean, obviously the feminists like to talk about how you had to be, the wife had to get her husband to sign off on the credit card. That's, you should look at debt in the United States before that and then after it. I mean, it's but the one thing that I would like to see them actually do again is it used to be that the credit card rates could not be higher than 18% in several states. Where I grew up in Minnesota, you couldn't charge more than 18%, and the banks went around that through, I think Reagan allowed for it, which again, I'm not supporting everything.
Reagan had a couple things that really just
and so then like, oh no, this bank is based out of South Dakota, so we can charge 21%. Well, I have a credit card now, I pay it off every month, but it's like 33%. I'm like, that's immoral. That's just immoral.
Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah, you're gonna do that forever.
Usury.
That's crazy.
Okay, Josh, did you have anything? I got one. If you
This
don't,
is the good news stuff.
it is, yeah. Some of us are positive on this podcast. All right. So, Blessed Carlo, some are saying Blessed Carlo Acutis new miracle dropped. The Vatican website has been updated. For
Look
those
at that.
maybe don't understand this joke, the Vatican website was horrifically ugly for the longest time, and it now looks somewhat decent.
Question for you,
so-
Tom. When was the last time
Yep.
that they updated the design?
Oh gosh.
I got it.
Wait, you know it? What is it?
I do. I believe it was 1995.
That is
Oh,
right.
my God.
Hey.
The year I graduated from high school. The last year.
The internet was around in 95?
Just barely. We had dial up.
You needed a passcode.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Got to
ding.
dial up to go see what the Vatican's up to?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm excited. Like, if I make it over to Italy, it looks like you can request like tickets to papal masses and audiences and Scavi tour online now, which, like, welcome to 2025. That hopefully it works. I'm going to test it out next time I'm over there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we'll make Brian test it out for us.
I wonder if for the trads you can click on the website. I want the parchment paper website. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like you
The
use
joke,
Google
folks.
Google
The
Translate.
joke.
There's-
Google Translate to Latin.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
actually, of course, the Vatican website appears in English. You can do it in Italian and lots of other languages. I believe you can select Latin.
On the old one, you could. So I have to go check out the new one, see if they kept it. Hopefully.
I bet
Hello.
like
Leo's going to get credit for this, but it was actually Pope Francis that, gave
Updated the
green
website?
light. Yeah, I mean, because
There you go.
Started the process.
probably started it 10 years ago, and it's
It does kind of look like it's from 2016. But hey, it's better than 95.
At least. I mean, come on.
Yeah, someone in the chat said, I mean, won't they know we're Catholic by the ugly church websites?
Yeah.
I was like,
They'll know
every
we are
local
Christians
church,
by our
right?
lack
Every
of
local Catholic church has a horrific website, and if it doesn't, I'm almost a little skeptical. Like if the website's a little too nice, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So yeah, got to get with the times. All right, so I'm going to save some things that we might have had for this show for next show. But one thing I really did want to get into, because it was Memorial Day on Monday, and I hope that everyone was able to pray for the repose of the soul of fallen soldiers. Really, you do cookouts, but it's really somber. I had a friend share a great thread, and I know Josh, you're a fan of him as well. Shout out Ryan Raisins to the thread on Twitter about Father Vincent Capodanno. Yeah. And I think he's a great example of that mix of Catholicism and military. He's been named a servant of God, which is the first pathway to becoming recognized as a saint. And for those who don't know, he was a U.S. Navy chaplain. He earned the Medal of Honor after being killed in action in Vietnam. And born in 1929 in Staten Island, he was the youngest of 10 children, ordained a priest in 1958, spent a decade as a missionary in Taiwan and Hong Kong. 3 of his older brothers served in World War II, and when the U.S. began to build up their presence in Vietnam, Father Vincent decided to become an Army chaplain and was commissioned in 1965. He
Navy
served
chaplain.
Navy chaplain. He served 2 tours. During the second tour on September 4th, 1967, the 2nd platoon of M Company was being overrun by the enemy. Father Capodanno left his company command, ran through a field as bullets whizzed by him until he got to the wounded and began administering last rites and directing medical aid. Despite receiving multiple wounds, Father Capodanno continued to administer care, both bodily and spiritually, to the wounded and dying men. And in 2019, the Diocese of Palm Beach approved a miracle attributed to Father Capodanno after a woman was inexplicably healed from MS, which is cool, kind of starting this servant of God process. So I just thought it was a cool story. I know Josh, you definitely have an affinity for him.
Well, it's because the day before, when he celebrated Mass on Sunday, a young man came up to him and said, I'm not Catholic, I'm Lutheran, but can I come to the Mass? And Father Vincent told him, yes, you can come, of course. You just can't receive the communion because we consider it to be, Jesus. And this young, Marine said, okay, sure. And that was my father-in-law.
Whoa.
Wow.
My father-in-law was one of the very last humans to see him alive. He was a part of this Marine company that was there. And I'll tell you this, fair or not, what he said is that the sniper hit this guy, Father Vincent, and it was pretty obvious. Like, they're always wearing like either medic hat or in his case, the chaplain hat. So helmet, and so the fact that it was not like a mistake or an errant shot, it was pretty obvious that the sniper took him out because he was a chaplain. And this was the Grunt Padre. He would always be with the men, a lot of times chaplains would be on base and they administer the guys. He was always in the field and doing last rites with these Marines. And so when they shot and killed him, the sky captain, as they called him, I can tell you, my father-in-law said, yeah, you haven't seen fury. And our boys just went on overdrive and made them pay for it. Let's just say it that way.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is incredible.
Probably Capodanno, pray for us.
How cool would it be if the first American Pope were to canonize the Grunt Padre? That would be a great day. You might have to make it to Rome for that one, Mercer.
Might have to come with my father-in-law. That'd be fun.
That would be.
I was blessed. I mean, the Archdiocese of Military Services asked me to help out and promulgate the story and work on the canonization stuff, and that was quite an honor. And I had to unfortunately decline. I just was too much going on, but I did offer my support in any way you can. So I appreciate anyone who want to talk about it. There's a lot of great chaplains. You know, Father Emil Capune, if I can say his name, from Kansas. You know,
I think it's Capon, right?
Yeah, we got to raise all these guys to the altar. They're just awesome men. So great stories for boys, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so often we have this idea like, oh, war is terrible, war is fine. These aren't warriors. These are the men ministering to men who are called into duty. A lot of these men were drafted. They didn't choose the war, you know. So again, the complaint, you can think war is bad and war is bad all day long. I do. I want as less war as possible. But I'm proud of the brave men who serve as chaplains to our troops, and I honor the troops too.
Id you say your father-in-law was Lutheran?
He was, and he's most definitely not now. He's
now Catholic.
I guess we can thank Father Vincent for that.
I think so. I'll thank him. That's awesome.
Dang. Yeah, the movie. You guys have seen the movie Hacksaw Ridge, right? I feel like that was probably the most popular.
That's
he wasn't I don't think he was a chaplain. I just think he.
That's the
he was a medic,
Mel Gibson one, right?
Right. Yeah.
Did Mel Gibson do that one?
I think he was the director of that.
It was Andrew Garfield was the main guy, and I want to say, was he Seventh-day Adventist or something like? He was kind of a weird denomination, and they're pacifists, so he's just like, I want to serve my country. I can't.
I won't carry a gun. I won't shoot. Right. But he was the runner, and he would run and get dying men off the field. Really intense movie.
Mel Gibson directed that one. There's this scene where one of the soldiers in real life that was at Hacksaw Ridge, Mel Gibson went to go visit him in the hospital, like when he was in his 80s or whatever, and just met with him for like an hour. No cameras, no nothing. Just chatted with this true warrior. It's just pretty cool stuff, man.
Wow. Shout out my boy James too. Served our country honorably, and it'd be amazing to talk to Josh. You're talking about your father-in-law, like how hard it would be to be in battle without a spiritual presence with you or a guide with you. I feel like it'd be just so easy. That's why I get on the beat about I get so mad when people that are clearly not going to send their kids to war are making decisions to send, my boys basically from the Midwest to make sacrifices that will be with them for the rest of their lives. And I know that they're signing up honorably, but I mean, I just do not take those decisions lightly, because even if it's PTSD or hearing loss, or like there's guys that go and they see things and they're never the same. And like, I can't thank people enough for those sacrifices. And that's why I really take the threat of war really seriously. But to have chaplains, the bravery of chaplains, good chaplains, to be out there to administer to the spiritual life of soldiers, or be a presence for someone that maybe didn't have a spiritual life, now just completely shell-shocked, nowhere to go. It really is an amazing, like chaplains as a concept are really interesting and amazing. It'd be worth just a deep dive, honestly, on that period. I mean, that's why you get movies like Hacksaw Ridge and stories like
some sort of troops all gave some gave all.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. On to the Twilight Zone now. Josh.
All right. I mean, hey, sorry, Erica, Connecticut. Not a good story here.
There aren't many up here, I have to say. I'm ready. Bring it on.
I mean, this to me is just like so embarrassing. So this woman graduated from Hartford Public Schools with honors, and now she's suing the public school district because she can't read.
Yeah.
So you think to yourself, how did she graduate? And then how did she graduate with honors and still can't read. I just, and to me, the thing is, I don't know. The real puzzler here is, why on God's green earth would you publicly sue the school system? Like, I'd be too embarrassed if I couldn't read. I'd be like, I mean, what? You're gonna go? But whatever, go for it. I mean, the people, of Hartford and Connecticut deserve to know that their public school.
I think I'm actually nope. I'll take the other end.
Dog water.
I'll take the other. And you could use the word dog water. Very Gen Z of you, but I'm taking the other end. If you graduate from an institution that didn't teach you how to read, I think something's wrong here.
I mean, maybe the only way they're going to respond is if she wins a big lawsuit against them.
Because now all of a sudden the school is going to need to be, hey, we actually need to teach people to read, or we'll get sued for not doing so.
Yeah. Do you really think that they'll take that as the lesson? I don't think so.
She's
But
I
do, Erica. You know why? Because one thing about bureaucracy is they do respond to lawsuits. They are risk averse. Like, I guess we can't, blah, 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 blah. So they'll have to do something where, like, in your junior year of high school, like, sit down, read this out loud.
Yeah.
She's at UConn, by the way.
She which does not say much for UConn. People are like, oh, UConn, what an amazing school. You're like, they admitted someone who can't read, right? And this is just like all of higher education right now, right? Because we have like Harvard, of our earlier in the show fame, Harvard is having remedial math classes. These are supposedly the best and the brightest. Kids work their tails off to get into Harvard. Except supposedly the cream of the crop of American and
they're doing freshman algebra.
And they can't do freshman algebra. It's just like, and UConn, I can't read a book. It's just ridiculous. I am glad that she is suing, because it is exposing that. And I just think sunlight is the best disinfectant when it comes to this. I don't think the school system will learn, as it exists now, can pivot. All they can do is what you said. They can layer on more testing. They can be like, well, I guess we should test junior year, and I guess we should test senior year. And that's not going to fix the problem. They have to go back to phonics. They have to go back to phonics.
Maybe we should have school choice in Connecticut.
Because I know Michael Knowles
from your lips to God's ears.
Michael Knowles was really beating the drum on this. Like, he brought it up at RCA, this specific case.
Yeah.
I think she's an immigrant, and she might have dyslexia or something. I don't want to say too much, but because I'm not fully sure. Regardless, I mean, the fact that an American learning
we have programs
to produce someone that can't
we have
read.
Programs for people with special needs.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
There's no excuse.
There's like, what excuse could possibly? How low are we going to go? Right? Like, right. I don't. What are we doing here if you can't read?
And how do you get honors and you can't read? That's, to me, I'm like, I can see like maybe she was like in the C level and she got like passed through, but like to be at the top of your class.
I don't blame this girl, but I don't think
it's like idiocracy. We just need more nitrates. I mean, what's going on?
And no, someone asked, does she play basketball? No, I don't think she's an athlete or anything. Like, she
not
looks
look like
not like what it looks like. What a and honestly,
unbelievable
for her to be like, yeah, I'll agree to an interview to talk about the fact that I can't read and I'm in UConn. Wild. Like, there's no shame anymore, I don't think. But there should be shame on multiple people involved in this story. but right now there's no shame.
Right.
It's amazing what we'll consider, like, and be acceptable, right, in our country. It's like, well, I don't know. Should we allow students to just pass from grade to grade to grade to grade to grade without any kind of academic merit or credit or learning or even reading? Right. Yeah. But then you say, well, what if we allow competition in education so that the government isn't the only provider, and we can have, I don't know, charter schools or private schools, and allow parents to decide? That's the only sin, apparently. I mean,
parents can decide, but only if they have the money to pay for it. So the rich people have freedom of school choice. Poor people, children of immigrants, they don't have any choice. They get to go through school systems that could care less if they can read when they're 18.
Well, and you saw that school in California that took away honors classes and advanced classes.
Oh, right. That's my Twilight Zone. Yeah. Yeah, no.
So it's like, even if you're in there, you can't even...
Honors biology is racist, so you can't have it. Or the other one too, where having math math is racist. So you have to make it into this sort of like social manipulation class instead of like, let's just learn to do algebra. That's how you end up with remedial math at Harvard. Yeah, the people of Connecticut, New England, I mean, the blue states pride themselves so much on being the most educated, right? The smartest people in the United States. But we had the studies coming out of from Mississippi, Alabama. Those are the most literate children in the United States.
Running
because
circles around Oregon.
Exactly. Like the most literate people in America
Wow.
are in Mississippi, Louisiana, because they actually started flunking kids in 3rd grade who couldn't read. So they have to repeat the year and learn to read. Fancy that.
Erica's right. I mean, in New England, also in my home state of Minnesota, there's so much looking down their nose at the deep South and Texas and Mississippi. They're so dumb.
Rednecks. Yeah.
And now they're just running circles around them. I love it.
I don't
love
think that
to see it.
I don't think that exists anymore, particularly at my age bracket. Like if you look at enrollment numbers at schools, they're all going to the SEC, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not going to the traditional East Coast, whatever.
Yeah, no, there's a crisis in small liberal arts schools up here for sure with enrollment.
I mean,
like
well deserved.
I could go to Alabama,
right,
and have a lot more fun. I mean, not like just drunken fun, but like their sports, they have football games.
The weather's better. I mean,
people don't hate me because I'm white or Asian or something like that.
That also is a plus. Very attractive.
Yeah, man, I do not know what that is. That is one where I really just sit here, you take a deep breath. Like, I do not know the answer. Like, where do we even start with the fact that she does not know how to read? She's in college. She's in UConn.
Oh my gosh.
Not a great sign. Okay. Erica, we got.
Way to go, NEA.
All right. Good job. Yep. Oh, I mean, the education department, if only Trump hadn't defunded it, then.
Right. Obviously.
This is why we're defunding the Department of Education, guys. It didn't work. All right. So speaking of deep blue states going crazy, this was times in Seattle. There was a Christian rally. There was an evangelical Christian rally on Saturday. It had been planned months in advance. It was called Don't Mess with Our Kids. And it was obviously a rally in protest of measures in the state of Washington in the capital city to, have boys and girls bathroom, boys and girls sports, have porn in the school library. So it was all of those cultural issues. And this protest had been planned, as I said, since I believe March 7th, they were given the approval. The rally also included things like a huge prayer fest. This was so Protestant. I love it. These are my brothers and sisters. Prayer fest, worship music that I don't know anymore because last time I did worship music was in the 2000s. There was a food bank. They were giving away free food to needy members of the community and free bikes to children that the churches had gathered to give away at this event. So this was on Saturday. It was swarmed by hundreds of violent Antifa agitators. This is getting no coverage at all in the mainstream media, of course. There were 23 arrests. Multiple police officers were hospitalized because they were assaulted by Antifa trans activists. They threw water balloons filled with urine at the Christian families who were just singing and praising God. Yeah. It is it's scary.
Music mixed in with screaming.
Yeah, it's worship music mixed in with the screaming. There's middle fingers. There's all kinds of, it was just crazy. Then later on, you see the Christians, they all turn from the stage, they raise their hands and they're praying prayers of peace over the protesters who are attacking them. Everything calms down eventually. So then the mayor comes out the next day. And he's got to make a statement, right? Mayor of Seattle, who touts himself as the second Black mayor, first biracial mayor. So he has multiple intersectionality.
I bet he's going to be on the side of the Christian protesters.
Oh,
right?
He's free speech, right? No, Seattle mayor blames, quote, far-right rally after left-wing activists attacked Christians' prayer service. So what did they do wrong? What did this far-right rally do wrong? They had all of that. So he says, they chose deliberately to go to this Cal Anderson Park, which is in the neighborhood section of Seattle. So they were asking for it. They should not have gone to the neighborhood because they knew that
don't go to the neighborhood.
Right, don't go to the neighborhood. Oh wait. But then the Christian pastor who has been fire on social media, who organized the rally, he comes back with the receipts. It turns out that the Christian demonstrators had asked for permission to use Pike Place Park, which is a very friendly neighborhood to multiple viewpoints. They'd asked to use Pike Place Park back in March as the location for their Don't Keep Your Hands Off Our Kids rally. Okay. The mayor's office came back and said, you may not use Pike Place Park. You can only use Cal Anderson Park in the neighborhood for your rally. So it was actually the mayor's office put them in the neighborhood.
Dang.
Yeah.
Hey, when that happens.
I know, right? Oops. So they have the screenshots from the emails from the mayor's office. So not only is he blaming the Christians, he put them there knowing that this would probably happen. So then, of course, last night there was a counter.
You need to disobey these guys and just hold the rally in the park you want to.
Wherever the heck you want. Yeah. There was another counter rally yesterday. So then the Christians, they get permission from the city to go to the steps of City Hall right under the mayor's office. They have another peaceful protest where they're praising God. They're just singing praise and worship songs. And it was called Rattle in Seattle.
Nice.
Which is adorable. And then there was a counter protest. But I have to say the Seattle Police Department was awesome. They had a double barricade to protect the Christians. They had multiple police officers. They did more arrests whenever there was any kind of threat to them. There was this one Christian mother who had brought her 3-month-old baby strapped to her chest. And these trans activists, it was crazy. They surrounded her and start screaming at her. Her little 2-year-old son next to her is crying. The police come in and pull her out of there. It was insane. And I think it might be the first time in Seattle history at a protest that the protesters, the Christians, were actually cheering the police department. There's some chilling footage of their SPD. The police officers are yeah, they like us. This isn't usually what happens.
They're probably so battle hardened. They're probably the best in the country. They have to deal with this every week.
This is what I'm thinking. That's why maybe we should have the cops like they used to in London have the bobbies have the sticks and just boom, boom.
The blackjacks.
If you have a bunch of trans protesters screaming and intimidating a person, that's not speech. So that's when a cop should just come by with a stick and just crack a few people in the back, get the hell away. That'll teach you.
Get out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
The neighborhood.
So wait, let's add to the tally now. Working out, liking attractive women, praying the rosary,
praise and worship music
now, all added to the far right moniker.
Yep. Definitely all far right.
Got it. Just trying to keep track here.
Yeah. It's hard. I understand.
It changes every day.
Why can't we win white men, Durka? They wonder.
Yeah. You know what we need to do? We need to throw $20 million at a think tank to really come up with a good plan to try to win back people.
They can give that money to me, and I'll be okay, here's what you do.
Yeah.
You want to appeal? You should promote David Hogg and make him chairman of your whole party. He's a white man. I'm sure he'll appeal to
lots of guys.
Conservative.
Yep. That'll win Pogo over for sure.
Definitely. And someone just brought up in the chat, we're days away from Pride Month. I haven't thought about it once. It's a completely different feeling. I felt like a looming Armageddon of degeneracy.
You know who else is not thinking about it? All those corporate sponsors that used to support and promote these drag shows in the towns. They're pulling out. It's amazing to watch.
Elections matter, some would say.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple. This truly is Twilight Zone here. I got a body language expert on.
I love these.
We're really gonna get into it here. Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister of France, was shoved on camera by his partner.
It's a white
his partner. I'm not willing to say at this point what it is. So here we go.
No, it was a pretty good slap. So I feel like that's
a nice shove.
And his face.
Oh man, talk about.
Oh,
it's just rare you get this kind of they manicure their public persona so carefully to get that kind of moment and him to go instantly in the wave. I think this was in Vietnam. Now, okay, we got the body language expert on it. Shoving. Now listen, let's just say there's an uncle in his life that went missing that looks suspiciously like Brigitte. Okay. I'm not even gonna like. I feel like this is low grade conspiracy at this point because
Oh my gosh.
it's so obvious what is going on. Supposedly she was a teacher at a school that fell in love with him when he was 15. I think she was like 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
None of it makes sense, right?
It would be like me start falling in love with like a friend of my 15-year-old daughter. Like that. It's sick. Like just very, very sick.
It's disgusting and bizarre, and none of it makes sense. And the funny thing is, now say what you want about Candace Owens, but the fact that France sent a letter to her basement studio in Nashville, Tennessee to say, stop talking about this, doesn't exactly inspire confidence in the story that's being presented here. This shove doesn't help it either. None of it makes sense. It's so bizarre. That's where I'll leave it at. But I just thought the fact that the shove happened in public in front of cameras is crazy. That is nuts that this happened. You almost never see stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was this instead of a punch. So doesn't that make
it was like a double shovel? I think the body language expert said it was a shovel, like shoveling his face.
Healthy relationships don't include shoveling faces. Typically.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. And then my other one is Jake Tapper on the tail of his media tour.
I think we should put this clip in there. Little language on it, but it's good.
Yeah. Language warning, brief language warning, but yeah, it's a crazy clip. So here's Jake Tapper on maybe that problem that Democrats are having with young men.
A left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless. And we were talking about my kids because I think they were both people without kids. And they asked me about my son, and I said he was, he's a football player and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son. Oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you fuckers are losing elections. Like my football playing son, who has no political views. He's 15. He thinks about World War II and gaming and playing linebacker. That's his world. You're deciding he's a racist because he wants to be a cop. And why does he want to be a cop? He wants to be a cop because he wants to help people, and he thinks that's the best way he can help people. And that's how the Democratic Party talks to men, not just white men, but men. And I get the idea that they thought Tim Walz could what's the term he used, code switch or something. He thought that he could translate the Democratic Party values because he hunts and fishes and owns a gun and was in the army and drinks a beer. I mean, at least there was an attempt. But I find it just insane.
I think it would have been better if there wasn't an attempt.
Jake was like fawning all over Tim Walz 6 months ago. He was totally fawning.
But I have to say, it is true. The left is the party of hate. It is true that the Democratic Party hates white people, hates all cops, even if they're justified. But as Jake was trying to defend his son, you said, my son likes he likes World War II. He likes to play video games. He wants to be a cop. Jake, I have to warn you. It sounds like your son has a case of onset republicanism. He may not be a Republican today, but I think he's going to be a Republican.
There's warning signs. There's warning signs for sure.
He's already got his favorite war. That's a problem.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those radical right wing. I mean,
he's going to go to school in Alabama if he goes to school, and he's going to.
Jake Tapper realizing that the party that he is promoted for the last entire career now is evil and hates people like him. I don't what. It's like this is all so. It's like funny getting on this podcast and talking about it. It's so obvious. I lived through this. Like I'm 27. All I've been told for the last 10 years of my life was I'm evil because my race, because I work out, because I want to have a family, because I want to get married, because I want to have kids. I mean, basically every life decision that I wanted to make. It's not even like the Republicans were at one point in time, at least, super great about messaging on it. I at least knew they didn't hate me, right? It's like the bar none was that at least I could be a part of something that didn't actively despise me and all of my decisions and things I can't even change. And like, I knew one party did, for sure. And I wasn't going to go over there groveling and apologizing about it. So as like a normal testosterone filled young man, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
I guess begrudgingly. And then someone comes along like Trump and JD Vance who are like, no, actually, like we think America's pretty great. And we think it's a country and not an economic parking zone. And yeah, white people are pretty great too. Like, and all Americans are great and we can all be great together. And we're going to make sure everyone has the same opportunities. Like this is like the most obvious. Trump just came along and did the most obvious thing.
Donald Trump won the Hispanic vote in 16 states.
Yep. Starr County, Texas.
I mean, you know, this idea it's like, oh, the Republican Party's, oh, white supremacy. Then how come the Hispanics are voting for Republicans all the way up and down the dial?
Right.
Yeah. It's almost
because it's not true. Like, and it goes back to just throwing money at the problem and having institutional power. They've never had to reconcile with the fact that their ideas are insane and insanely unpopular. Who's the market for this? Right. I don't know who is the market. The Antifa people in Oregon assaulting worship singers. It just blows my mind. Like these you have to spend $20 million to figure out the most obvious thing of all time.
Tom, they're going to get a podcast. They're going to figure this out.
That's right. I'm waiting for the podcast. This is Gavin Newsom.
Hey, why don't you give
Gavin
$20 million
tried.
to us and we'll just tell you what to do.
Yeah, I'm happy to take some of that money. Geez, like it's the other thing too is, and we talked to Michael about this. It's like men like using reason and they're trying to get to the truth. And the reason podcasts, I don't think they're this new institutional power per se, but I think the reason they appeal and resonate is because people are being honest and people are being authentic and they're not chopping things up a million ways like NPR and putting on music and producer and taking a niche angle at some things. Like the things I say in this podcast are not revolutionary, but I can promise you I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. And that's why Theo Von appeals to people. That's why Joe Rogan appeals to people. Like he built something without any money, without any larger institution funding what he's doing and making it fake. And like, I just see so many examples of like, I see something put out, I take a Google at who funds them. I'm like, all right, I can't trust you. And that's why I just think this SAM project is going to be a tremendous flop. What are you even talking about? No one organically believes your ideas. Yeah, me too. I'm waiting on bated breath. So anyway, fun episode, guys. Hey, if you want to check out those interviews we did, that's up on our YouTube on the interview page. Super fun. Love Nashville. I got to give a huge shout out to Alyssa Walsh and the whole RCA team and Olivia, who was part of putting together the event. It was fantastic. They were super hospitable to us. And man, what a cool opportunity to get out in person and see a lot of you. So shout out to Alyssa. That was amazing. And shout out to everyone who came on the show. It's very cool. We want to keep doing more of those kind of things. But yeah, if you want to support us, go support Charity Mobile. Check them out for your phone plan. If you want to email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org. And if you want to support the show, leave a review, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But of course, pray for us above everything else. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Pray for us. We'll see you guys ready for another great show on Friday. Locked and loaded.